In C#, objects can be passed by value or by reference. But it is important to understand there is a distinction between primitive data type being passed by value and objects being passed by value, because objects passed by value can still be modified, and passing by reference means a completely different thing than passing by value. But it's important to understand how this works. So let's understand. I have in my class definition here, which has a public property of value and of data type int. So down here, I am creating a variable called my object of my class. Then it will have a default value of 10. So here, if you pass it without reference, so you can see here modify object, and this modify object, what it does, changes the value of the incoming object to 42. So as you can see here, when you do that and we're passing it by value, the value is changed to 42. So before it was 10 and then it changes to 42. Now, if you then reassign the reference of that object, and again, we are still passing it by value, you need to understand how this works. Here, we get no effect. The reason we get no effect is because what the reassign function does is it creates a new object of my class and gives it a value of 100. Now, this would be stored in a different place on the heap in the memory, so it will have a different address. So now we are changing the address of the object coming in, but this is going to change the original object, because the original object doesn't change, because here we are assigning object to be a new class, but we're not passing it back. Here, my object will actually still be intact and it will still have the value of 42, which we changed here. So now there's another way to pass it, which is by reference. So here we are saying my object and we are adding the keyword reference, and we've got a definition which is slightly different. We've got the same function name, but of course the parameters are different. So these two are in effect two different functions. So here when we pass it by reference, what will happen is when we do the same thing as above, it will actually change the original object variable that we had here. So here we will now get 100 because the address has been changed because we passed it by reference. So if I were to run this, so you can see the output. And as you can see, for the first one where we passed it by value, object's property have been changed. So it was 10 and then it's been changed to 42. And the next one where we reassigned the object, so here where we are saying reassign it, this is basically we're here where we are reassigning again, it's by value, and new object here is created of type my class. That value won't change and it won't be back in here. Again, this is passed by value. As you can see, we got the same outcome, 42. And then finally, where we actually reassign using a ref. So here, as you can see, we are saying ref my object, so passing it by reference. So now my object will actually refer to the new object created within the function. Though here you can see this function takes a parameter of ref my class object, and when we create this, it would allocate a new memory address, and that address will be assigned to the object here because we're passing it by reference. So it's important to understand this major difference between passing by reference and by value. And now this object will actually refer to the object that was created within the function, and we'll get the output 100. And as you can see here, this is what's happened. Before it was 42, now it's 100, even though this object was created here. So just make sure you understand the differences between passing it by reference for object heights and passing it by value. There are subtle differences in the behavior, how it works for primitive or native data type versus object data type.